Welcome to Dave Talks Ball. Excuse me, sorry. Welcome to Dave Talks Ball in this November 21st, 2024 episode, folks. Just got done with a 1-year-old birthday party. My son turned 1 today. Happy birthday to him. I'm going to give Red a shout out. So a little sorry, I was about a minute too behind here. Finishing watching this Texas game, guys. Any Texas fans out there listening? 66-63 right now. Texas over Syracuse in the UKG Classic. Remember, we're in the thick of college basketball season now, too, guys. I know it's week 13. We're going to talk about college football, but just wanted to keep you updated. I'll keep you updated on that as we get closer to talking about a little college basketball. But doesn't it feel like kind of a landmine week? Doesn't it kind of just feel like a landmine week this week in college football? I mean, you got Ohio State's kind of got a landmine going on here with Indiana coming to town. Alabama's kind of got a landmine going to Oklahoma. I feel like Georgia's fine. Ole Miss has got a landmine heading to Gainesville to play Florida. We got a couple kind of, I don't know, Texas A&M, Auburn, where you could maybe see 2 out of 3 lose again. I'm not saying Alabama, but definitely A&M. That line would scare me if I'm an Aggie fan. We'll preview all the action across the board. There's my guy Joe. There's my guy Joe. I knew he'd be in. Nail biter. Trey Johnson not so good tonight. No, it was the Arthur Kaluma show. And Joe, you know this. Your boy RT, Rodney Terry needs this win tonight. I mean, I'm sitting here. You may be a little ahead of me. 63, 67, 63 on my YouTube app with 21 seconds to go, but. This would have been a tough pill to swallow if you're Rodney Terry and lost this game. But no, guys, we got a lot to get into. I got like small segments I want to hit. I want to talk about why is Kirby Smart so upset at the committee. I have a little bit of a theory, and I don't even know if I believe it, but I just want to hear what y'all think about this. And only someone that had worked at Georgia like myself would know this. So again, I'm not saying this is true. It's just something I felt like with my background, again, Dave Shoemate, I've worked 10 years in college football, went to an SEC school, worked in the athletics department, football there. I feel like I've seen a lot of things, know some knowledge. I feel like I got to bring it up to my audience here because I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys listening to Dave Talks Ball every Monday and Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Also, how will the SEC teams fare if the SEC has to go up, if we got to go up in December, play it in South Bend, play in Columbus, play in Bloomington, play in State College. What's the weather going to look like? Just briefly touch on that. We'll obviously preview the Week 13 matchups, recap the week that was in college basketball. I was at the Alabama-Illinois game last night in Birmingham. Thought it was a good basketball game. Mark Sears scored 0 points, and Alabama still scores 100. It's really impressive. And money-making weekend, Week 13 bets, we went pretty well. So we're at 47%. I promised you 50%, 55%, folks. We will get there. I promise you. We're going to get there. And then finally, it's going to be a long episode, folks. It's really not. No guests tonight. Just going to kind of organically talk to you about it. Obviously, we'll have the note script together for the predictions and stuff. I just wanted to get into it. But let's get right into it. None other guys. Bryce Underwood flips to Michigan after being committed to LSU since January and reaffirming his commitment about 2 weeks ago. But it sounds like Michigan offered him a $12 million deal, a real Godfather deal, a deal he can't deny. Sorry if that's my Italian impersonation. He couldn't even turn it down. Like, I think this is what it is. I mean, the only thing you could be upset with Brian Kelly is, in hindsight, 2020 is, hey, maybe you left some money you saved for Bryce Underwood. You could have went and used on the roster defensively, certainly from a personnel perspective, and even offensively. Well, what does that say? Again, hindsight 2020. I don't know if you go spend $12 million on Bryce Underwood. I don't, call me crazy. I don't think that's any kind of guarantee. It sounds like Dave Portnoy was involved in this. It kind of is what it is. You got to kind of tip your cap to Michigan here. I hate to use the term desperate, but I kind of feels right here. I mean, it's a kid right down the street at Belleville High School, and hell, Connor Stallions is the OC at that school, if I remember right. Yeah, I'm actually looking that up right now. I'm pretty sure he is. I mean, I'm sure he had nothing to do with this. Obviously, he is. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he really probably had anything to do with the money situation, but he definitely was in. I mean, if anybody went and checked out the Connor Stallions documentary on Netflix, he was a company man, dude, a true company man, true Michigan man through and through, would do anything for the maize and blue. He definitely would not shock me if he was pushing Bryce Underwood. But again, I just think Michigan outdealed Bryce Underwood, outdealed LSU here for Bryce Underwood. I just think that kind of it is what it is. It just is what it is. I think even if LSU's sitting here with 1 or 2 losses, they probably get flipped on them here. Again, I don't think this has anything to do with any of the in-season momentum. I just think that amplifies. I mean, you get on the boards of LSU on LSU's on 3 message boards, and the first thing you see is Brian Kelly's fired. Let's fire Brian Kelly. I'm not really for that. I mean, what? Come on. Who are you going to go guarantee to get better? The one thing I could say you could be mad about, again, Scott Woodward. I like Scott Woodward. Worked with him at Texas A&M. He gives out some of the worst head coaching football contracts in America. Jimbo Fisher's and now Brian Kelly's worth $60 million. $60 million to Brian Kelly and then $70 for Jimbo when he got him from Florida State. Just giving away money, Scott. Just giving away money. Again, this situation is what it is. Michigan was not going to let a big-time 5-star quarterback in their backyard leave the state to go to LSU. They offered more money. He accepted, even though after reaffirming, saying NIL really wasn't a thing last 2 weeks ago. It is what it is. We know can't take the schools for their words these days. We can't take the kids for their words these days. It's just the nature of the sport. Nobody's right or wrong. I just think it's going to be amplified for BK because of the on-season results so far. I mean, they're staring at 8-4 right in the face if they can beat Vanderbilt and then finish the year beating Oklahoma next week. It's just, hey, should we have spent some of that money on the 2024 roster is really what you got to ask yourself. And again, hindsight 2020, now that you know Bryce Underwood's gone, yeah, you would definitely be, we should have went and spent the money. But if you would have kept him, it's kind of like, we'll take an 8-4 season as long as we get Bryce Underwood. So, I mean, you're splitting hairs, guys. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. I really don't. I really don't think anybody's right or wrong. Just an unfortunate situation. If you know an LSU fan out there, give him a hug. Blake Ruffino, if you're listening from AYS, Are You Serious Sports? I'll give you a virtual hug, buddy. LSU fans need it tonight. Feels like a little bit of another loss, but who are you going to blame? I just think you got outdueled or outbidded. It is what it is. It's the nature of the sport now. Texas did end up winning that game, folks, by the way. So I can turn this one off. We'll talk a little bit of college basketball across the board as well. Let's keep going in here. Joe K. 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis commits to play for Colorado in 2025. Looks like Coach Prime is going to stay. Yeah, he did that on Pat McAfee's show today. It's a big get for Colorado. Ons the Gray. It needs to be December, so I can figure out if I'm going to be optimistic next year or feeling skittish on my NIL donations. Come on, Ons. Be donating that NIL stuff to your guy, Porter Mosier. He needs help. Actually, Porter Mosier is a good basketball coach. I just don't think you guys in Norman really put much money into the basketball program. And I get it. You're trying to get football back, and it hadn't been the year you wanted it. Joe K. Horns won. Woo. Yep. Horns got the W. Keep moving on, though. Will SEC teams struggle in Big Ten country? Like, you hear this all the time, like, oh, yeah, well, wait till the SEC has to come up here in December. I saw some Ohio State fan posting something today. It was snowing. He was walking to work. He had some mittens, and he's saying teams like Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi, and he lost me when he called Ole Miss, Mississippi. But he was essentially saying, hey, look at what it is on November 21st. The playoffs start a month from today, December 21st. What will Columbus and other places in the Big Ten in the Northeast, Midwest look like at that point? I mean, let's just look out as far out as possible. Columbus, Ohio. What is the weather? Columbus, Ohio, as far out as possible. Monthly. That's what it gives me. I can go out as far as monthly. So it's supposed to be on December 21st. Well, it's 30. It's Columbus right now. Let's see. There we go. December. So December 21st, supposed to be high 41, low 24. What we keep forgetting, folks, is it's going to be in the 30s, I think, in Baton Rouge this week. I think it's going to be in the 30s in Baton Rouge this week. So it's not like these SEC teams are just used to cold weather. Again, I think it is one of the most overstated things out there. Yeah, could it affect the over-under of a game? But yeah, Vegas is going to get that line lined up perfectly. It is the most oversaid statement that weather is going to change, unless it's just a sleeting snow. But again, that would affect a Michigan, Ohio State, the game. But again, Columbus, Ohio right now. Not a bad place for you, Ben, honestly. 41 degrees is the high, 24 is the low. Let's go to State College, Pennsylvania. What will that be? I'm assuming something similar. Here we go. Monthly. high 37, low 25. It's going to be cold, folks. Let's go to South Bend. It's going to be cold. It is what everybody's going to be in the 30s. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, people know it's going to be in the 30s in the Midwest and in the Northeast in December. Here we go. I'm in South Bend. This is where if the playoff rankings stop today, Alabama would be heading to South Bend. High 35, low 22. Last one. Let's just check Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana. Let's go a month out. I'm sure it's going to be the same because we just left the same state that South Bend is in, both in Indiana, guys. I don't really think this is going to be that big of a deal. No high, but the low 32. I think this is going to be one of the more overstated things out there. Again, it's not like SEC. It's not like it's not cold in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia in December either, guys. I mean, we've all seen the same thing. I mean, we have. I think it is the most overblown thing, and it's like, great, you'll have to deal with the cold too. It's not like Ohio State gets to play in a dome, and however many points they accumulate in that, they're playing in a dome against, hypothetically, let's just say Georgia's defense, and then when Georgia has the football, they got to go back outside and play an Ohio State defense out in a snowstorm. That's not how it is. That's how the Big Ten and Midwest fans kind of react to it. It's like I remember even when I was in college and from 08 2012, they played all the bowl games, the New Year's Day Bowl. Y'all remember the Outback Bowl, the Capital One Bowl, now the Citrus Bowl, obviously the Orange Bowl down there. Why we always got to come down to the Southeast? Why don't they come up to here? Well, first, it's where the bowl sponsors are. But second of all, it doesn't matter. It is the same for both teams. It is the same weather across the board. If they played at a beach, it would be a sandy game for both teams. If they played up in Mars, if they played up in space, there would be no gravity for both teams. It is what it is. It goes both ways. If Ohio State beats an SEC team, if Penn State beats an SEC team, if Indiana beats an SEC team, if Notre Dame beats an SEC team, it's not going to be because of the weather. And I want SEC fans to hear that too. It's not because of the weather. It is the same for both teams. It is the most overstated thing in college athletics. And I kind of hope it happens just so we can go prove that the SEC can go up there and kick some ass in Big Ten country. I kind of hope it happens. I see all the Georgia beat writers out there all up in arms. Georgia's at 11. I've never seen these many beat writers go rally in defense of one team. It's a little fanboyish, to be completely honest. And I love all those guys. I love every one of those. Graham Coffey's an awesome dude. Writing to Bolsey. The Bulldog Report's a good. They all do a phenomenal job. I just think it's a calm down, guys. Georgia's going to be above that. They're going to be above 11 at some point. But I think they're more like, we don't want to go play up there in the north, and they have to go play a 1 seed if we're in that 8-9 matchup. Go on the road. If Georgia's a 9 seed, they're probably going to go travel maybe somewhere like at Penn State, and then go play Oregon the next round. I know Kirby doesn't want that, but it is what it is. Embrace it. If I'm an SEC fan, if I'm an SEC team, if I'm Kirby Smart, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, if I'm Steve Sarkisian, if I'm Mike Elko, all the playoff contenders, Josh Heupel, all the SEC coaches that are playoff contenders, embrace it, man. Go up there with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. I think if that shook out, or like how the playoffs bracket would have ended on Tuesday's announcements, where you got 4 SEC teams kind of heading up in that area, I think they would all kind of rally around each other, honestly. I hate to say that because, most of these SEC fans and fan bases despise each other, but I think it'll little be like, hey, you know what? We can make fun of Alabama and Georgia, but you know what? You can't either. Only we can. It's almost like your little brother. Again, I was an only child. I didn't have any siblings, but I can imagine, hey, I can pick on him, but y'all can't. I think a lot of people would rally and be cheering for the SEC to go win that game from an SEC standpoint. But no, it's even for all teams. If it's sleeting for Georgia, it's going to be sleeting for Ohio State. If it's sleeting for Alabama, it's going to be sleeting for Michigan. So on, so on. One of the more overrated things out there. On's the gray, my favorite Sooner. We have no control where it goes. It just goes into an overall collection. He's talking about what sports it's allocated to. I say that's what I hear when talking to people down there. There's not a lot of war chest there's not a big war chest for Porter Moser, the basketball program. Joe K. Oregon and Ohio State are legit. All the SEC teams in the top 25 beat Penn State and Indiana. I would agree. I think it's Oregon, Ohio State, drop off. And again, I think Indiana's better than people give them credit for. I don't think they win this weekend because I do think Ohio State's going to go try to establish the run game, run the football down Indiana's throat. But I do think there's a gap between, you're right, Joe. I think it's Oregon and Ohio State. I think they're on an SEC level. How Penn State automatically gets a freebie into the club is unbelievable. And speaking of Cole Thompson, I was just about to bring him up. Me and him always talk about how the playoff was made for James Franklin and Penn State. Just go 10-2, lose to Ohio State and the other good Big Ten team that year, Michigan, Oregon, whoever is on the schedule. You're in the playoffs every year. Cole, go Dave, go. Appreciate you, brother. Cole Thompson, nothing will matter when Minnesota Army and Indiana win this weekend. Good Lord. I was saying going into this would be a landmine weekend, Cole. I mean, that would be a nuclear bomb weekend. I mean, at least a landmine. That's only usually one casualty, maybe a couple. Nuclear, woo! It's a big effect. You're right, though. That would be absolutely. God, imagine Minnesota beating Penn State, which I don't hate. I think that's one of my picks on money making weekend, guys. Army, not wild to say, and then Indiana, again, not wild to say. So Cole's not too far off, but that'd be a wild one. Wayne Kelly, laugh out loud. People asking these questions when none of these Big Tens even play in December. Yeah, I agree. They never even play games in their own December. I mean, the one game I do remember just being an absolute story is the 2021 Michigan-Ohio State game. Yeah, that would have affected everyone. It even affected both those teams. It limited Ohio State's speed, so I agree with that. But it's for both teams. It goes both ways. It's one of the more overstated things. Now, I just talked about Georgia and Kirby Smart. Again, I thought their beat writers and some of their fans just went absolutely nuts there, right? And again, were they wrong? No, but the first big playoff rankings you need to pay attention to are next week. How they rank Indiana, if they win or lose, I think will be very interesting. But it'll be a big one, nonetheless. But why is Kirby Smart so mad? Why is Kirby Smart so mad? Again, this is a theory I don't even know if I believe. It's just a small segment I just wanted to bring into here. But just to give you some background, I went through and looked at the list of all the college football playoff committee members. You got Jim Grobe on there, Mike Riley, former Oregon State coach, former Alabama alum, et cetera, some AP role. I mean, let's pull it up, a list of college football committee members. Why not just read it out to you, folks, when I have it right here? Let's just do it. 2025, here it is. We got Chris Alt, Chet Gladchuck, Jim Grove, former Wake Forest coach, Ward Manuel, who we all know, the Michigan AD. He speaks on behalf of the committee. Randall McDaniel, Gary Pinkel, former Missouri coach, Mac Rhodes, Mike Riley, who I just brought up, former Oregon State coach, Alabama player, David Saylor, Will Shields, Kelly Whiteside, Carla Williams, and Hunter Yurchik, the Arkansas AD. Go back to Carla Williams real fast. Again, not trying to start anything. But I worked at Georgia in 2014 through about June, July of 16, just off the top of my head. So I was with Kirby about 4 or 5 months. And then I got a job offer at Auburn, and I had to go just because of the dollar amount. But Virginia AD Carla Williams is on the playoff committee. And prior to going to Virginia, Williams served as the athletics administrator at the University of Georgia for 13 years and was named deputy director of athletics in 2015. Stay with me, folks. During Williams' tenure as an administrator at Georgia, its athletics teams won 16 NCAA team championships and 37 Southeastern Conference titles. Now, let's fast forward. Who was hired in 2016 at Georgia? Kirby Smart. And I can tell you firsthand, Carl Williams leaned to the admin side and did not want to get bullied by Kirby Smart when he first came in there, and he was going around saying, hey, get on the bus or get on the train or get off the train. Kind of like Nick Saban did when he got to Tuscaloosa. The good old boy network thing was over. Like, hey, if you aren't all about winning, you can pack your bags and get out of here and head to Dodge, guys. It's about point blank what Nick Saban was saying. He did the similar thing. Kirby Smart did the exact same thing when he got to Athens, and these two did not get along. Is there something there? Again, I'm not saying Carl Williams is pulling Georgia down to the 11th spot. But she is on the committee. I do know her and Kirby Smart do not get along. Kirby Smart's been as vocal, and that's usually not about the playoff rankings than I can ever remember it being. And again, a lot of it, because Georgia's usually not an issue, a situation to miss it. And I think last year he knew they didn't really have a leg to stand on. I mean, you lost the game 12 hours earlier when you got left out. I mean, you lost Alabama in the SEC championship game, same record. Alabama beat you head-to-head 12 hours prior. And Alabama's the SEC champ. How would you get in over them? That wouldn't even make sense. But something may be there a little bit. He's more vocal in all these post-game press conferences about calling the committee out. What are they looking out? They don't know what they're talking about. And to me, a little bit like, you got Jim Grove on there. You got Mike Riley. You got Gary Pinkel, who I know Kirby Smart definitely respects. Something's there, though. And maybe I'm wrong. but I usually like my intuition here. Something's there with the Carla Williams thing. Because, again, they did not like each other when he came in. And I think he started throwing his weight around saying, hey, do y'all want to ultimately get over that hump? You're good. You've won back-to-back 10. We just fired a coach at Georgia who just won back-to-back 10-win seasons. Do you want to get to that elite level where Kirby Smart came from at Alabama? And I think Carla Williams was a little hesitant to that due to her tenure, 13 years at Georgia, and they clashed heads. Well, now she's on the committee. We all are humans. We all have natural bias. I'm sure some of that bias is in there. And I know she probably loves the University of Georgia, but I know she doesn't like Kirby Smart. And I know he doesn't like her. Something to ponder. I don't think it's a lot to really take in. I don't. I just thought it'd be something to bring up. I was talking to somebody over at the University of Georgia today, and I was bringing it up, and he's like, that's interesting. You thought about that. I was like, yeah. When I was looking up who was on the committee about 2 weeks ago, it just kind of stuck with me, and Georgia continues to kind of get a little slighted. And again, I think some of it's overreaction. If Georgia wins out, finishes 10-2, they're not going to stay at 11. They'll probably be in that 8-9 range. But again, Kirby doesn't want that, because if you're the 9 spot, you're going on the road probably to a Big Ten team. We talked about that up north. Welcome to the highs of 35 and 21. Again, it's all even playing field. Everybody's got to play in it. But then you got to go play at a neutral site against the number 1 seed, which will probably either be Oregon or Ohio State, the winner of the Big Ten, another tough matchup. Kirby doesn't want to be in that 9 spot. He keeps taking shots, I think, because, again, personal pride and bias. Again, he doesn't like Carla Williams. Carla Williams doesn't like him. I haven't seen Kirby this vocal with the committee since this has happened. Again, this is the first time we've got a 12-team playoff, and usually conference champions matter to more so than they ever have, or more than they do now with a 12-team playoff. Remember, if you didn't win the conference outside of TCU in 2022, you were usually kind of at times left out, except 17 as well. I mean, again, my point being, conference championships were weighted heavier in a 14 playoff than they are a 12-team playoff, obviously. But I just think this is something there. Maybe there isn't anything there, but I just thought it was an interesting thing. Joel says, at Cole Thompson, doesn't it help SEC more if Ohio State beats the heck out of Indiana? I mean, yeah, I mean, it would. I really do think Indiana's going to have to get blasted to get left out, folks. I just think 11-1, they're not going to get blasted. Remember, you got more football coaches on this committee than you can ever remember. That's why I think it's interesting. Kirby keeps taking shots at it. And I'm like, the only common denominator of someone I know he probably doesn't respect and like on there is Carla Williams. So something just to keep it on. Why is Kirby Smart so mad? But let's get into the Week 13 previews. Let's get into it. Ole Miss at Florida. Ole Miss currently an 11-point favorite, point total 55.5. Kickoff 12 p.m. Eastern on ABC. One of the first of the ABC triple headers. Set the tone for you. Feels like we haven't seen Ole Miss play in like a month, doesn't it? All these bye weeks when these teams are off, because I feel like week to week it's so crazy in college football right now that you're like, when's the last time? Oh, yeah, they beat Georgia. They're storming the field. Jake Pope celebrating with the Ole Miss fans, right? The path to the playoff right in front of Ole Miss. Florida this week, the Egg Bowl next week. Now, this game looks tougher than it probably did 2 to 3 weeks ago, especially after the Texas game, especially after the Florida game. But Florida's playing their best football of the Billy Napier era. I truly believe that. DJ Lagway looks to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league heading into next season. The defense under Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts has adjusted some. They're not bringing as much pressure as they were bringing. They aren't as predictable as they were. They're 1 win away, folks, from getting to 6 wins. Either this game against Ole Miss or Florida State next week. I had them at 6-6. That would be a big turnaround, man. I mean, you can make a case for 3 people being SEC Coach of the Year. Clark Lee, Shane Beamer, and Billy Napier, which is wild. And even Mike Elko could be in the conversation. A lot of candidates, more candidates than I can remember in a while. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, if they go 10-2 his first year at Alabama. I mean, good years coaching across the board. And again, that's probably why there's not going to be a staff change unless Sam Pittman retires in the SEC. I think you could legitimately go through the Power 4 conference and no one may get fired in the Power 4 level. Now, you may have someone retire like Mac Brown, who I know came out and said he's not, but just you still got 2 weeks. We saw Bryce Underwood just change his mind in 2 weeks. And then you may have a coach leave for the NFL. But straight up fired in the Power 4 level, you may not have one. And certainly in the SEC, I don't think you are, unless Sam Pittman retires. But again, it's not getting fired. But what is going to happen? I actually think Ole Miss is going to come in focused in this one. I do. Bye week couldn't have came at a perfect time. The best thing to happen to Lane Kiffin last week was the bye week, get his team refocused, and Florida beating LSU. If for no other reason, your playoff chances are on the line, but you're getting Billy Napier's best shot, and you can tell your team, hey, look, this team just beat a team you lost to in LSU. I think this game being at noon definitely helps Ole Miss. But honestly, I think the Ole Miss tempo will cause Florida issues defensively. Add in DJ Lagway is a really good player, but Ole Miss has the most in my opinion, the most disruptive front in the league right now. Do I see Florida making some plays in this game? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to totally shut down a team in college football now. Do I think if Ole Miss comes into this one with a good game plan and they keep Florida on their heels, and I think a lot of that's going to be, I like Ole Miss's tempo here. I like Ole Miss's tempo. I think they're going to change it up on Florida, keep them on their heels a lot due to the tempo. I think that'll be key to victory for Ole Miss. Remember, I'm saying that when me and Cole are reacting to this game on Saturday around 3:30. That Ole Miss tempo, I think, is going to get to them. Again, like I said, bye week could not have came at a better time. I think Ole Miss is locked in. I think they pull away in the second half. Give me Ole Miss 35-20. I think they cover. Call me crazy. This game was at night, maybe a little more, but I don't know. Ole Miss is so disruptive up front. As long as they aren't killing themselves with penalties and turnovers, I just think I trust Ole Miss's defense to get enough stops. I think if Ole Miss's offense gets rolling, there's no way Florida can win this game. I think tempo's key. Pay attention, guys. Tempo's key. Ole Miss gets the 35-20 win. Joe K says, go Gators. Monty Endicott says the CFP committee listed Arkansas as a good win for Texas and listed it as a bad loss for Tennessee. Sounds about right. Go Big Orange. Yeah, a little contradicting there. You're right. Next game we got, where our guy Chris Phillips in the SEC Unfiltered Tour is Kentucky at Texas. Texas minus 20.5 currently. Point total 46.5. Kickoff. This is the second game of the triple header. 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Texas, like I mentioned, 20.5 point favorite. 46.5 point total. Setting the tone with a real Texas Longhorn offense. Please stand up. In all seriousness, I thought you turned the corner against Florida. I thought you turned the corner against Florida 2 weeks ago. Because I think people forget, oh, yeah, Florida's third-string quarterback. Well, he doesn't play defense. And that was a Florida defense that was forcing a lot of turnovers against Georgia and Kentucky prior. They even go back to the UCF game in prior weeks. Florida's going to change their identity offensively, and I thought that was a good performance by Texas offensively. While the defense wasn't challenged overall in that game, and really even against Arkansas, I think this Texas defense has definitely improved. I see some people kind of going after Tech, who they played. No, this defense has improved, guys. The secondary was the issue last year. It is by far with Ja'Day Barron, Michael Taft, all those guys. They do a phenomenal job on the back end. They're really close. They're a really close unit, and you love to see that in today's college football. But will the real Texas offense please stand up? Kentucky. Where is Kentucky right now? They're just coming off a win against a bad Murray State team. They most likely aren't going bowling. They're heading into this one 4-6. They'd have to beat Texas, then they'd have to beat Louisville. It's kind of a toss-up in both of them. I mean, they're definitely an underdog. I don't feel good about this one at all for them. But, however, this defense could present some challenges, I think, to an inconsistent Longhorn offense just searching for a consistent passing game and running game, honestly. But what is going to happen? Look. The Brad White, Mark Stoops defense with the 3-high look, which is designed, if you don't know, to limit explosive plays, is a tough matchup for Texas and Quinn Ewers, I think. Can Texas be patient enough on offense to have 8 to 9 play drives? That is the question. Can you be patient? In today's college football, for whatever reason now, these offensive coordinators just give up on the run game early. We've seen it with Alabama, who have 2 really good backs. And I think Texas sometimes and Quinn Ewers wants to generate that explosive plays, but it's got to be that intermediate level this week, like right over the linebackers in between the safeties in those kind of windows. You have to fit it in because they're going to be like, we're just going to drop back. You're not going to beat us deep. And I don't think you can consistently run the football because you don't try. Kentucky on offense, one of the worst in the league. I do not foresee Kentucky doing much offensively against this Texas defense. The key to this game will be how patient can Texas be offensively. They can run the football if they commit to it. The Texas running back room here is averaging their top 3 ball carriers, top 3 rushers, averaging 4.8 yards per carry, 5.1 yards per carry, and 5 on the dot yards per carry. If you commit to it, I think you can do it. I think you can do it. Now, this is a game, though, where Kentucky, when the film's on, it's a film game, a guy like Deion Walker would step up and play well against this. I mean, this isn't just an easy game. Because Kentucky, I think, does some good things defensively that could challenge Texas. But I don't think Kentucky's going to win this game. But don't be shocked if this is under the 20.5 that Vegas has given. Give me Texas 34-7. I think they just cover. Not overly confident in that one. I just want to see Texas commit to the run. I just want to see Texas commit to the run, Joe K. Give it to me, baby. We got to commit to the run. I think they can do it. Quinn's really good in the short intermediate. I think sometimes he wants to show that hand talent, that arm talent. Those are two different things, by the way. When I'm talking about arm talent, I'm talking about arm strength, velocity. Hand talent's touch. And I'll take this to the grave. I think touch is a natural thing. You can maybe improve it a little bit, but in my history, in evaluating quarterbacks and being around college quarterbacks, you either have it or you don't. Again, you can tweak it a little bit, but hand talent's a big thing. Jimbo Fisher would always say that. I agree. I think that's, and I think Quinn Ewers can do it. Again, we have proof of concept of him winning big games, but I think they do get a big win here this week. And I think they commit to the run. They should this week. Going to the next game, Missouri at Mississippi State. Missouri currently favored by 7.5, point total 57.5. Missouri at Mississippi State, 4:15 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. Setting the tone for you. Last chance for Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State to notch a conference win in 2024. No offense. Don't think they're going to go get the win in Vaught-Hemingway next week for the Egg Bowl. They're only a 7.5-point dog in this one. We've seen crazier things. This is a kitchen sink game if I'm Jeff Lebby. You're throwing everything. You got nothing to lose. For Missouri, you got to build off your best performance of the season last week. Yes, you heard it. The best performance of the season last week against South Carolina in a loss. If Missouri matches that effort and ability like they did last week in Columbia, South Carolina, they'll win this game easily. Won't even be close. We won't even react to it. However, can Missouri get off the mat now? Playoffs are out. Eli Drinkwitz in post-game press conferences can't say, yeah, we're still playing for a playoff spot. How healthy is Brady Cook still? He's going to play. But what's going to happen? I actually think this game's going to be really close in the second half. Call me crazy, but I don't think Missouri just rolls into Davis Wade and blows the doors off State from the get-go. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem that easy. I actually respect the Mississippi State pick by some. Chris Phillips picked them. I know Missouri fans, Rambo, and them were upset about it, but I see why. I see a path. If Missouri's a little bit like emotional off the loss last week, feels like they don't really have a lot to play for. And again, guys, at this point, you got to create some internal motivation. Portal season's here, guys. Early signing day is in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, guys are already getting hit up about being tampered, about entering the portal. If you aren't playing for something or have good internal team culture, that's where it's like, I mean, we're 9-3, dude. It's the best we got. We're not playing. I'm not getting the ball. Like, they're going to check out. Missouri's got to continue. They got to roll over that performance in Columbia, South Carolina last week at Williams-Brice Stadium against South Carolina. They got to roll that performance to Starkville this week. Remember, I always say that stat. A lot of teams don't win true back-to-back road games. I'm not saying a road game, bye-week road game. I'm saying true back-to-back road games. It's tough. They're due to get one. I just think if Missouri can, again, commit to the run game, that outside zone run scheme is phenomenal. Nate Noel fits it perfectly. If they can get that going, Mississippi State does not fit the run well, especially in the outside zone. I think they could hammer that. I think that's where they win the game. Close in the first half, but give me Missouri does hang on, get the big SEC road win, and then head on to face Arkansas to try to get that 9th win. Give me Missouri 38-30. I think the outside zone run scheme is key because, again, I don't trust Mississippi State fitting those fitting their runs consistently. I don't think they'll fit it. They hadn't all year. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a Cam Scattaboo, what he did to him like the second week of the season, but I think Nate Noel could have a big day on the ground. I really do. But hold on, I'm checking that injury report. Missouri injury report. Let's see. Oh, Brady Cook's probable, so that's good. All right, perfect. I mean, yeah. Again, I respect the Mississippi State pick. I really do. If you're picking Mississippi State, I get it. I see a path to victory. I like the spot for them because they're going to be desperate. And again, it's a kitchen sink game. I just ultimately don't trust them overall. Tough year for Lebby. Ons the Great says, yeah, it is. Joe K, the team from Columbia, Missouri is going to be a little salty after that tough loss in Columbia. It's going to be a good game worth checking out. Yeah, I agree. It could. I mean, I was giving Chris a little hell about it. I know Missouri fans, but I get it. I mean, I see a path to victory here for Mississippi State heading into this one. Next one, Alabama at Oklahoma. Alabama favored by 13.5. Point total 47.5. Kickoff 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This is the nightcap on ABC. Setting the tone. Are all of Alabama's problems just fixed after the beatdown in Baton Rouge 2 weeks ago? I'm asking. I think it's too early to tell, but this game will certainly tell us at least things offensively, how it looks. If Alabama has indeed springboarded this into their best self heading into the last few weeks of the season, this game I think will help us prove it. Will help prove that. What's the vibe in Norman? I asked our buddy Ons the Gray, what is the vibe going to be at Memorial Stadium Saturday? It's senior night. I fully expect guys like Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, the seniors on defense, will have – I think they're going to have a pretty good game plan. Zach Alley, Brent Venables, and them. You like them as schemers on defense. You just – I don't know. Just something tells me you don't see them getting ran out of their own home stadium at Memorial Stadium on senior night. Am I wrong in thinking that? But what's going to happen? Something tells me Oklahoma just doesn't lay down. They need one more to get to 6 wins. They got a game against Alabama, obviously, on Saturday night, and a trip to Baton Rouge next week looming. Defense is good enough to keep them in this game. But what are we going to get out on the offense? Jackson Arnold, for one game, is good enough to win this game. If he's playing to his ceiling, he could. But the consistency scares me. It looks like they should get Jalil Farouk back. And if I'm Joe John Finley, it's another kitchen sink game, similar to his buddy Jeff Levy. It's a kitchen sink game. You got nothing to lose if you're Oklahoma here. Show Alabama's defense and Kane Womack stuff they haven't seen. If I'm Brent Venables, if I'm Joe John Finley, I am playing aggressive, maybe even kicking an onside kick, faking a pump. You really got nothing to lose. And if I'm Kalen DeBoer, you need a good start. You need to get the crowd out of this early. And again, I think the crowd, this is a game, you tell me if I'm wrong, Ons the Gray. I think this is a game where the crowd can be sitting on the edge of their seat. And if it's 14-0, 10-0, it's ugly right out of the gate. The offense can't get anything going. They're getting frustrated. Bama can have back-to-back road games where the stadium's empty to start the fourth quarter. I think this game's closer than people think. I think the score may indicate that it was worse than it actually was. I think Bama controls this entire game, but they never separate due to the Oklahoma defense's performance. Give me Alabama 28-14. In our prediction video, myself and Cole Thompson did. I think I had it like an 8-point game. I think it's going to be a little worse than that, but I think this is a game where if you're an Alabama fan, you don't ever really feel real comfortable until like the last 5 minutes. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, you don't really feel like you're in it or really that you're going to win the game, but you're just a play or two away from changing all that momentum. That's kind of the vibe I get in this game. Just with the point total, the spread. I mean, like I said, the point total, 47.5, spread 13.5. Expecting a lower scoring game. I don't know, 28-14 seems about right. Ons the Gray. I'm hoping it'll be rowdy. Receivers are slowly working back in. I'll spam you some clips when we have it rocking. Appreciate you, Ons. Only 3 receivers out unless Burks is still roughed up from the concussion. Joe K, Ons the Gray. I'm rooting for your Sooners. Beat Bama. If you're in the lower bowl, there's no sitting. Up top, you can sit on the edge of the seat. If you're in the lower bowl, you just reposted again. That's Lincoln Riley talk, only being 2 plays away. We don't talk like that here. No, I'm with you. Oklahoma fans are a proud, obviously, program. They're not going to be happy if they just lose to Alabama by a point. I'm just saying, I think it's one of those games Oklahoma fans are sitting there like, I don't know if I ever really thought we were going to win it, but we were just a couple of plays away from kind of maybe this coming down to the end. I don't know. It just kind of seems like that game. Maybe for Alabama fans listening, maybe like a Mississippi State game from like 2012 to 2017 at times, maybe a week after the LSU game. Maybe it's a struggle, but you never really thought you were going to lose. Something like that. That's kind of the vibe I get here because I don't think Bama's just going to roll into Memorial and just go kick their ass. I don't, because I think this Oklahoma program, this Oklahoma defense with seniors like Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman have pride. I don't think they're going to let Alabama go up and down the field. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and if that's the case, Bama may be looking like the best team in the country right now if they go, like, no doubt about it, put Oklahoma away early and often. That'd be an impressive win, and I know people make impressive win. Oklahoma's got 5 wins. They may not even go bowling. Still, that's a championship level performance that we're going to happen. I don't think it does. Give me Bama 28-14. Texas A&M at Auburn. A&M favored by 2.5. Point total at 46.5. Kickoff at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. If I'm an A&M fan, that 2.5 line terrifies me. And if you've ever heard the term A&Ming, remember we used to have the term Clemsoning before Dabo turned it around from that time from 14 to really about 2018, 19? Between that time gap, remember when Dabo first started taking over the job, he would blow big leads, never could really beat Jimbo Fisher in Florida State in their prime. It was called Clemsoning. People were giving A&M crap for losing to South Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Typical A&M, big win against LSU, and they blow it the next week. No, that was just 2 tough SEC games. Got an emotional second half win against LSU, went on the road against one of the hottest teams in the country right now in South Carolina at their own house at night, and you lost. It is what it is. That's a tough SEC game. If you lose this game at Auburn, who's probably not going to go to a bowl game, unless they beat Texas A&M or beat Alabama on the road next week, this would be A&M-ing. This game would be the definition of that cliche. And again, like I mentioned, this line would terrify me. And if I was an A&M fan when it opened up on Sunday at like 2.5, 3, whatever it was, I'd be like, oh gosh, what do they think? I mean, A&M has their entire season in front of them: SEC championship hopes, college football playoff hopes, national championship hopes. Auburn just trying to get to 6. Like I mentioned, they need these next 2. I think Jordan Hare is going to be rocking. Auburn's a very loyal fan base. Like I always say, I think a lot of Alabama fans love Alabama football. Auburn truly loves Auburn. Call it a Cole, like A&M Auburn here. It's a little cultish. Like it's not. I'm not making fun of anybody. It's just those are the 2 teams that would kind of line up in that category. But Hugh Freeze still looking for that signature win at Auburn. I mean, what is his best win at Auburn, folks? At Arkansas last year, whoop-de-freaking do. You need a big win against a top 25 team. I don't think A&M and Mike Elko are going to be looking ahead. They have Texas next week. I know he had that clip where he's like, hey, we're just focused on Texas right now. I mean, Auburn, I think he just misspoke because he was talking about Texas prior because someone asked if they would be looking ahead. So I think he just misspoke. But this game does have all the ingredients for a Texas A&M letdown. And as it gets closer, I actually like Auburn more in this game. But Auburn played well all year for the most part defensively, probably outside of that Cal game a couple of times. But give DJ Durkin and his staff credit, one of the more underrated units in the country, specifically in the SEC. Seasons and teams get later in the year, teams get the blueprint on certain offenses, folks. I think DJ Durkin laid the Vandy blueprint on how to defend them. I know that was in a loss, but they only gave up 17 points. They lost 17-7. They didn't lose because of that game plan. I think Clayton White potentially maybe gave the blueprint on how to stop a Marcel Reed A&M team. Do we maybe even see Connor Wigman? Because I think DJ Durkin's going to have a really good game plan against Marcel Reed. He's not going to be able to just go run like he did in the swamp against Florida over a month ago. He's going to have to win this game vertically at some point. I think Noah Thomas is going to have a big game. This A&M offense on the road without Le'Veon Moss and not a lot of proven wide receivers scares me. I think Mike Elko and Texas A&M knew that. In their game against New Mexico State last week, they started to get tight ends more involved. They started to sling the rock around a little more. I think they know to ultimately hit their goal to win an SEC championship, get to the playoffs, they're going to have to stretch the field vertically. I think they know their next 2 opponents could keep them in check if you're just going to have a safe, conservative game plan running with the quarterback a lot. They're going to have to make some plays through the air, I think. Like I mentioned, as this game got closer, starting to lean Auburn more. But I'm going to stick to my original pick in this one, folks. I'm going to stick to A&M. I just can't trust this Auburn offense, Peyton Thorne, against a really good Texas A&M defense to do enough to win this game. I mean, it's strength on weakness here a little bit. I mean, it's too early to say A&M's offense is a weakness. I mean, we're just going off really the South Carolina performance, and that was against a really good defense on the road at night. Tough environment after an LSU game. Let's judge them on this one, but I do have my concerns. I think Auburn's defense has an advantage being at home over the A&M offense, and I certainly think the A&M defense has an advantage over the Auburn offense. I mean, think about the stuff, the simulated pressures Mike Elko may and Jay Bateman may throw at Peyton Thorne. That would scare me if I'm an Auburn fan. That's why I lean A&M. That's why I'm ultimately, gun to my head, life on the line, I'm betting $1 million. I'm just going to go A&M because I just can't trust this Auburn offense against the Texas A&M defense to do enough. I think Auburn will need to be +2 in turnover margin or more defensively, play really good across the board, which I can believe in that because I like DJ Durkin. I think he was even great those last 2 years in A&M in College Station with Jimbo Fisher. I think Hugh Freeze is going to have to be in his bag in this one, but until I see it, I can't predict it. Give me A&M 23-17 on a level 1 through 10 of confidence. About a 4 in that. About a 4, solid 4. A&M 23-17, no real confidence. But until I see it, again, I'll be the first to jump in the water of a lot of things. Predicting Auburn now to go win a game against another really good defense, I don't care where it's played. I can't do it. I mean, I rode Auburn in the middle of the season at Missouri, which they easily could have won if Brady Cook doesn't come back. Kentucky, they did win, and I thought Vanderbilt, that line, I was all with them. But again, DJ Durkin then played phenomenal. Offense couldn't get anything going. What do we think changes this week? Give me A&M 23-17. On's the greats. Definitely a needed win for us, Joe. We've had our tails tucked between our legs all year. We need something. Lance Taylor picked Auburn to beat A&M, then A&M beating Texas next week. Total chaos. I mean, wouldn't be the wildest thing. That'd be, if Alabama went out, it'd be Alabama, Georgia in the SEC championship at that point. And then the final conference game before we briefly go over the non-conference games, Vanderbilt at LSU. LSU favored by 8. Point total 53.5. Game on the SEC Network, 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Set the tone for you. The gold uniforms will be ready. They got the white helmets, gold tops, white bottoms, I think white shoes. Should look pretty good. But that's about the only thing some people hate them, like Matt Moscona out there, hate these uniforms. All the momentum is on Vandy's side in this game. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think LSU's ever left the first half of the Texas A&M game. They haven't. I mean, it's similar to Kentucky has not left Oxford after beating Ole Miss. They've not came back outside of the Murray State win. LSU's kind of in that spot right now, facing four straight losses potentially. Vandy coming off a bye week. We remember what Vandy did off their last bye week. They beat Alabama. They had a good game plan. And I think Vanderbilt isn't satisfied with 6 wins. They know they can get one of these last 2. But what is going to happen? This is going to be an assignment sound football game for Blake Baker and his defense. It is. Nothing from the last 3 weeks gives me or probably any LSU fans confidence they can stop Diego Pavia in this Vanderbilt offense. This game's another mystery to me. This one and the Auburn Texas A&M game, as it gets closer, I'm just, do I go this way? Do I go that way? I'm all over the place with them, if I'm being honest with you. I don't feel confident in my Texas A&M pick. In this one, I don't feel good about. But I'm going to roll with it. Complete mystery to me. Would not shock me either way. Offensively, I think LSU in the passing game can out-athlete Vanderbilt on the back end. Again, an improved back end for Vanderbilt. But LSU should hit some explosive plays, but you're going to have to be able to run the football. So, I think Vanderbilt's defensive line with guys like Miles Capers are definitely improved. But I think on the outside, LSU has a big advantage that if you're Joe Sloan, you got to go take advantage of. The key to this game will be LSU playing assignment sound football and defense. I think Blake Baker and them know we have to have a good performance this week. They didn't even see probably the Bryce Underwood thing coming like this until probably the last 24 hours, 48 hours. But I think the key to this game will be how LSU plays. Can they win on third down? That's where Vanderbilt killed Alabama. If Vanderbilt's good on third down, Vanderbilt's going to win this game. If LSU's defense can contain Diego Pavia, the 10-back Vanderbilt offense on third down, limit them to around probably 20, 30%, I think LSU wins this game because I do trust them offensively this week. Call me crazy. I think they're going to have a good week on offense. I do. I think LSU probably, even internally, I saw an interview with Will Campbell, and he's like, listen, like we told the team, 8-4 is a lot better than 6-6, guys. And obviously, most people can tell you that. But I think that is true from a momentum standpoint. You go into a bowl game, maybe you try to go get 9. Inevitably, you're going to have some guys sit out, some coaches not be there. But there's a big difference. There really is. And I feel like LSU plays pretty well on offense this week. It's just going to come down to defense and third down. I will tell you who will win this game by who is better on third down, the Vanderbilt offense or the LSU defense. I think Blake Baker and them played their best game in the last 3 weeks. Give me LSU 28-20, confidence level 1 through 10. 10 being I'm confident enough I'd bet my first child. 0 being I wouldn't bet $1 million if it was your $1 million. 4 again is what I would say. The rest of the league, let's get into it. UMass at Georgia. UMass coming in with an interim coach after firing Don Brown. People remember him as the former Michigan DC. Georgia favored by 42, point total 55.5. This is one Georgia should handle. Get some guys in on defense, get some film on them, put them in certain packages, get film on to see who you can maybe trust. Because again, the season's longer, guys. You're going to be playing. Depth's going to be hit. Depth is more important than ever. Some of these guys you're not used to having to play will probably have to play in some of these semifinal matchups. So Georgia will get ready for that. Maybe even be interested in the Jaden Rashada, Gunnar Stockton battle as well. UTEP at Tennessee, noon Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern on the ESPN Plus. Tennessee there about 40.5, over under 52.5. Same thing. I think Tennessee needs to be in press mode, though. And I think they will be. They'll get a win against UTEP. Wofford at South Carolina, 4 p.m. Eastern on the ESPN Plus. No line on that one. South Carolina should get a big win there. Senior day. Let's see the walk-ons play before a big one on the in Clemson next week. Louisiana Tech at Arkansas. If you're going to keep an eye on any non-conference matchup this week, 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. Arkansas favored by 22, over under 48.5. This is it. Sam Pittman wins this game. He will be back if he wants to be. He loses, I think you'll have some people raise enough money. Again, Sam Pittman has, from what I've been told from some buddies inside their athletics department, he has hip surgery due at the end of the year. It's going to probably be up to him if they win this game. I think they could win this game and Missouri next week. The thing concerns you a little bit is we've seen the floor of Arkansas. That UAB game third week after the Oklahoma State game. They play that. Louisiana Tech could win. I don't know. I think they'll play a win. I think Arkansas wins this game. They get to their sixth win. And then that's it. Those are the only other games right there. But if you're going to monitor a non-conference game, Louisiana Tech at Arkansas, because I told you, no SEC coach is going to get fired this year. I will take that statement back if Louisiana Tech beats Arkansas. Don't think they do. Now, does Arkansas cover the 22? I don't know about that, but here we go. These cupcake games in November need to end. Schedule a bye. Yeah, usually this was a really bad week, Joe. Before y'all came into the SEC, this was everybody was playing FCS except kind of used to be Arkansas, Ole Miss would play each other this week. Sometimes they rotated, it'd be a Mississippi State, Arkansas type thing. But most teams were playing an FCS game or a poor opponent before rivalry week the next week. It just kind of was what it was. I mean, just kind of is what it is. I mean, everybody plays the 4 non-cons. It's just the SEC would usually play 3 and save 1 on the back end. It's kind of your prisoner of the moment. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. But transitioning over from football, a little basketball recap, folks. A little basketball review. Let's go to the week that was last time I talked to you. Tuesday night, Kentucky got a 96-68 win over Lipscomb. The Kobe Bryant kid just keeps me excited. I am cheering for. I always respected Kentucky. Love the way Mark Pope and the boys get it going. Big 97-68 win. Florida 84-60 over Florida A&M. Florida A&M's terrible. I was watching this game. They're 0-4. I don't know who's worse. Mississippi Valley State, who's played Missouri and Texas, or Florida A&M, but Walter Clayton doing Walter Clayton things. Georgia getting a 93-45 win over Alabama A&M. LSU didn't look great. Down to the wire, back and forth with a 1-5 Charleston Southern team. Maybe that Kansas State win last Friday have a little bit of a sour taste, but nonetheless, that was a weird game. LSU easily could have lost that game. Wednesday night, last night, I was in Birmingham for this one. Alabama gets the 187 win over number 25 Illinois. Grant Nelson with 23 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. Teams are going to go pack the paint against Alabama and let Grant Nelson shoot. I think that's the blueprint until he can prove he can consistently do it. He hit his first 3 3-pointers last night. When he does that, Alabama is going to be tough to beat. They probably won't beat anybody in the country on that given night if Grant Nelson's shooting like that. Factor in Mark Sears didn't score. A guy that's going to be up for the National Player of the Year did not score. Did not score a point. Bama still scored 100 points. The standout player so far for Alabama is the true freshman LeBaron Philon, was committed to Auburn at one point, committed to Kansas from Mobile, Baker High School, went for 16 points, had 7 rebounds and 9 assists. Almost had a triple-double. He's phenomenal. Reminds me a little bit of John Wall. Bama defensively rebounding. They gave up some second chance points. That's some stuff they got to improve on. But that was a big bounce back win after a tough loss at Mackey Arena against Purdue last Friday night. That was fun to watch. This Alabama team's scary, dude. They're scoring 100 points without their best player and potential National Player of the Year not scoring a point. Texas A&M gets a 71-54 win over Southern University. Again, not a very good basketball team. Tonight, Oklahoma got the 76-52 win over East Texas A&M. Ole Miss up currently by 33 against Oral Roberts right now. Sean Padula going for 19.7 rebounds, 5 steals. Good gracious. He's almost going for a triple-double. Vanderbilt with 6.5 minutes left, up 63-54 over a 4-0 Nevada team. That'd be a big win for Mark Byington and them. That'd be another big win. I mean, I don't think Cal's going to be great in the ACC this year, but again, first year at Vanderbilt, I thought you'd struggle a little more. You're off to a better start, and you've looked better than I thought outside of the rebounding. And then Tennessee, Virginia right now, tell me it's delayed. That's in that Baha Mar Hoops Bahamas championship that they're in a little pick 'em because we'll talk about it here in a minute. But who is in that Bahamas championship tournament? It's who was playing before them. I was looking at it because I was watching it earlier while I was prepping for the show. Because you got who was in that first game? St. John's Baylor. That's who in that first one. And Tennessee and Virginia coming up next. But just wanted to bring that up tomorrow. I'm going to preview all the way till you get to through Sunday. You got Pittsburgh at LSU in the Greenbrier tip-off, the Mountain Division. So they're in a tournament out in West Virginia right now, LSU. It'll be a good test. Pittsburgh's 5-8. Kentucky, again, not really playing any of these tough games in Feast Week. They're 4-0, 3-0. Play Jackson State, former Alabama point guards, the head coach there. They're 0-5 in league play. Florida, Southern Illinois tomorrow. Missouri Pacific. Mississippi State, SMU. That'll be an interesting one. SMU 4-1, first year in ACC play. Mississippi State favored by 1.5 in that one. Little Rock and Arkansas play, and Arkansas a 20.5 point favorite in Texas will also be in that, or they're in that UKG Classic right there. Who's the other team in that one? UKG Classic. All these tournaments, dude. Everybody's in a tournament now. This Legends Classic. All right, so they'll play the winner of Texas Tech and St. Joseph's. So everybody feels like everybody's in one of these tournaments. It always kind of felt like that, but still, everybody's in one of these tournaments across the board. Going into Saturday, I think, you got a Georgia Marquette. You saw what Marquette did to Purdue the other night. Beat them bad at home after Purdue beat Alabama. Marquette's ranked 15th. Georgia plays them at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, right in the middle of college game day, folks. But again, it's college basketball season too. That'll be a fun one. Imperial Arena in the Bahamas. And then Sunday, St. John's, Georgia, same tournament there. And then Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Missouri. And then next week, it gets real fun, folks. Next week, it gets real fun. You got Auburn in the Maui Invitational. I'm reading you that bracket right now. It's probably the best I can remember in my lifetime. You got Auburn opening up against Iowa State, a Big 12 favorite. That'll be fun. They'll play the winner of Dayton, North Carolina. On the other bracket, Michigan State, Colorado, and Memphis, UConn. I mean, Auburn could legitimately play Iowa State, North Carolina, and UConn 3 days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Hawaii. Traditionally, Bruce Pearl didn't schedule real hard. He has totally went out and changed that this year. They still got a game against Purdue. They already beat Houston. They got some big-time matchups, and again, that's an NCAA tournament run right there. I mean, that's a Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, semifinal game right there. Again, like I'm saying, folks, Auburn opens up with Iowa State. They get that game for sure. If North Carolina were to beat Dayton and Auburn were to beat Iowa State, or just lose, if North Carolina were to lose and Auburn were to lose, they play as well. And then UConn, I'm doubting they're not losing, but they got a matchup against Memphis, and you got Colorado and Michigan State on the other side as well, which is very impressive. The Players Era Festival, you got Alabama A&M in that over there. You got this one's an interesting one. It's kind of like a round robin. They adjusted it, but the teams that are in it are, you got Houston, Alabama will be on Tuesday night, Rutgers, Notre Dame. Next day, you have Alabama, Rutgers playing, and then Notre Dame for Houston. Then your third game's TBD. They're going to let you go play. Alabama, Houston, Rutgers, Notre Dame are in the Impact Division. And by the way, this tournament's in Vegas. And then the other one's called the Power Division. That's San Diego State versus Creighton and Oregon versus A&M. And remember, Alabama plays Creighton and A&M already, so they're not going to try to schedule that. I'd predict Alabama on that third day probably plays either San Diego State or Oregon. And I'd venture to say Texas A&M is going to play. They already messed with Houston in an exhibition and play them again. Probably Notre Dame or Rutgers. Again, because some of these teams play, obviously, Texas A&M, Alabama, SEC teams, and Bama plays Creighton in the regular season in a couple of weeks in Tuscaloosa. So that's how that game went. They wanted to have a championship game. So that tournament is Tuesday, Wednesday, then they take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and play again on Saturday. So keep you up to date on that one. Other tournaments, ESPN Events Invitational. This is the Orlando one. I've actually been to this tournament here. Who's in this one? This is Florida. Pulling up the brackets for y'all right now here. Hold tight with me, people. I'm pulling up the brackets right now. You got Florida, Minnesota, Wake Forest, and Wichita State. So it's not as big of a tournament as it used to be. Now it's just a 2-day tournament. Winner plays winner, loser plays loser. We got that one. That'll be next week as well. And then we got the Rady's Children Invitational. Ole Miss will be in that. You got Ole Miss. Pulling it up here. All these tournaments. You got – nope, that's not it right there. You got in this one. Here it is. You got NC State, Ole Miss, Purdue, and BYU. Again, winner plays winner, and there'll be a championship in that one. You got the Arizona tip-off. That's UNLV, Butler, Northwestern, and Mississippi State. Mississippi State will open up with UNLV, then they'll play the winner or loser of Butler or Northwestern, depending on what they do against UNLV. And then the Fort Myers tip-off Classic is where South Carolina will be, and I will read you that bracket. Hashtag we own the Fort is what it is. So it's Michigan, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Xavier. Virginia Tech already had a bad one as well. So it's just, I'll keep you updated on Feast Week, guys. I'm going to start doing either nightly reactions or morning reactions. I'm going to start doing that. So just to keep you a heads up, that'll really start in Feast Week. Obviously, in conference play, that'll be every night. Just right now, we're kind of settling in. I didn't get back till 2 a.m. last night from Birmingham after being live at the Alabama-Illinois game. So I just really wanted to bring that one up for you guys as we're heading into Feast Week. Again, my favorite week of the season. Joe K, Seeing Melo and his son, Kyan, who's committed to Syracuse at the game, was cool. Texas is going to probably play Texas Tech tomorrow night. Not feeling that confident. Joe K, I was actually at the Final Four in New Orleans. That semifinal game is Carmelo, Hakeem Warwick, Jerry McNamara played Rick Barnes and the boys. TJ Ford. And who was the big guy Texas? Texas had some guy that had a ton of mass to him. Forget what their big guy's name was back then. It was like the 03, 04 Final Four I went to, which was a phenomenal name. There were so many storylines to that one. You had Dwayne Wade and Tom Crean when Marquette were there. It was Roy Williams' last game at Kansas before he went to North Carolina. You had Texas and Rick Barnes, and obviously Syracuse won it with Hakeem Warwick blocking the shot. But Kirk Heinrich, I think, shot. Monte, Endicott, Baylor, Stetson. On the bright side, Auburn has been Maui. Yeah, they are. That's a tough-ass Maui Invitational there. But that's college basketball, man. It's coming at us fast again. I love it. Feast week is awesome. My favorite week of the year. But let's give you the best bets of the week before we get you out of here. We are 61 minutes in. We're 1 minute over before I get you out of here. We always go over, guys. I know y'all like what we're doing. But, yeah, guys, before we go on to the final money-making weekend, I give you some of my bets here, best bets of the weekend across all college football, not just SEC. Go like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, folks. Go hit the notification bell, like, review, tell us where we can be better. We have so much content coming at you. We have Sunday Fun Day, myself, Cole Thompson, Chris Phillips. We do the reaction to the college football playoffs Sunday after the final one, after the SEC championship game. We'll be doing a live reaction. I think Chris is not going to go this year to the SEC championship game. I'll let him announce that, but we'll be reacting to that. We'll do an official college football playoff reaction when they announce that on Sunday, like we do on Tuesday night matchup. I'll give you all the college basketball action coming at you. There's no better place to get your SEC content for football, basketball, and baseball than the SEC Unfiltered channel. Before we do the money making weekend, let's get to our sponsor, Rowback. Dave Talks Ball is brought to you by Rowback. Go to rowback.com and use code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. Tell them your boy Dave sent you. But let's get to the money making weekend first. Give me Michigan State minus 13.5 against Purdue. I think Purdue is totally checked out. I like Jonathan Smith and the boys' future at Michigan State. I think they have a lot more motivation right now. Purdue, Walters is on the verge of getting fired. I like it. Fade Purdue right now. Give me Michigan State minus 13.5. Give me Indiana plus 7.5 in the first half. I think Ohio State's going to win this game. I think they're going to lean on them in the run game in the second half, but I will take the hook there. If it was just 7, 6.5, I wouldn't touch it. I like the half point. Give me Indiana plus 7.5 first half. Penn State, Minnesota under 44.5. I think Penn State could just be really conservative. They feel like, hey, if we just can get through these last two games, we'll be in the college football playoff. As long as we don't turn the football over, we will not lose this game. I think Minnesota's offense is not very good. Penn State's defense is good. Therefore, I'm going the under 44.5. Same game. Give me Minnesota plus 11.5. I don't think Penn State's going to be real creative in this. I think they're just going to try to show up to Minneapolis, get the win, get out of Dodge. Hey, let's just don't mess this up for ourselves. And if you're giving me 11.5, I will take it. Colorado minus 2.5 against the Kansas Jayhawks. I think Kansas' streak of being the giant slayer in the Big 12 is wild, as that say. There's no giant in it, but just continue to knock off the teams and playoff contention, title contention for the Big 12. I think it ends this week. Give me Dion and the boys. Give me Prime and the boys minus 2.5. Like I mentioned, I think Ole Miss covers. I think the bye week couldn't have came at a better time after Ole Miss. I think they got after the Georgia game, they got a disruptive front seven, and I just think the tempo is going to be the difference against the Austin Armstrong, Ron Roberts defense. Texas, Kentucky under 47.5. I think Kentucky's not going to give up the explosive play, and they're going to make Texas be. They're going to make them commit to the run game. Just like, hey, if you go have an 8-10 play drive on us, so be it. You're just not going to take the top off, and they haven't really done that to anybody this year. And I don't think Kentucky's going to, outside of Auburn and Oklahoma's offense, there's no worse offense than Kentucky. And I would say Kentucky's worse than Auburn's. Now, Kentucky, Oklahoma, you can have that one. But give me the under. Texas, Kentucky, under 47.5. Bama, Oklahoma, under 47.5 as well. Again, I think Oklahoma's defense, there's too much pride on that side of the ball. Your head coach is a defensive guy. Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman. I think they come and play with pride. They'll have a good game plan against Kalen DeBoer and them. And I don't think Oklahoma's going to do much against an Alabama defense that is forcing turnovers at an unbelievable rate. I think they're fourth in the country right now in turnover margin. Give me the under in that game. SMU minus 9 at Virginia. I think they have a lot to play for. I think Rhett Lashley and them can go prove it this week in Charlottesville. And then the Pac-12 championship game, guys. I'm all about playing for championships. I put this one on because we're going to predict the championship game. We got the Pac-12 championship this week. The two lone survivors, Washington State, Oregon State, Washington State minus 12. Give it to me for the Cougs. Give me the Cougs. I'm laying the points minus 12. So recapping what I have for week 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games for you. Michigan State minus 13.5. Fade Purdue. They're checked out. Indiana plus 7.5. I think they're playing off emotion that first half. I wouldn't take the game because I think Ohio State leans on them in the second half. Penn State, Minnesota under 44.5. Penn State's just trying to get to the dance. They're not going to try to beat themselves. They're not going to try to do anything stupid. Their defense is good. Minnesota's offense isn't good. That screams under to me, under 44.5. I will remember, guys, I'll be tweeting these out. I've been tweeting them out Saturday morning now. I'll be tweeting these bets out on Saturday morning. If anybody wants them, just DM me. I'll DM them to you as well. I think the Kansas streak of beating or slaying the Big 12 title contenders is over. I think Colorado and the boys at Arrowhead Stadium get the dub. Shadur and them minus 2.5. Ole Miss minus 10. Like I mentioned, I think that disruptive defensive front, Princely Umanmielen, has a big day against his former team. Also, Jared Ivey, Walter Nolan, just keep naming them. I think the pace on Ole Miss's offense is going to be the key. Remember, when me and Cole were reacting to that game, remember I told you on Thursday night, the Ole Miss tempo. Ole Miss minus 10. Texas, Kentucky under 47.5. Bama, Oklahoma under 47.5. SMU minus 9. And for the Pac-12 title, Washington State minus 12 against Oregon State. Joe, thank you for tuning in, brother. Thanks, Dave. Enjoyed it. Appreciate it. He says go Buffs at the end. But, guys, we had a phenomenal episode. You know how I feel about Prediction Thursday. All the fruit of your labor after preparing this week for all 6 of those SEC matchups, I get to present them to you. Let's go 6 for 6, folks. We did the Week 13 predictions. We talked why Kirby Smart may be a little upset. I encourage you to go back and watch that segment. Bryce Underwood flipping from LSU. Hindsight 2020. Are you mad at Brian Kelly for leaving money on the table, meat on the bone, for not giving in that money to the 2024 roster and that personnel? Or you're saving it for Bryce Underwood? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's been a bad 3 weeks to be an LSU fan. Give an LSU fan a hug if you see them. Is the weather going to be that big of a deal to these Big Tens in the Northeast? Again, like I told you, I hope the SEC gets to go up there, at least 2 teams. I hope they do, and I hope they go up there and hammer them. The weather is the same for everybody, guys. Like I mentioned, it's not like Georgia has to go play offense in the sleet while Ohio State gets to go play in their indoor against the Georgia defense. It's the same as is. Again, I saw the guy today posting the video in his mittens when it's snowing in Columbus saying, hey, we're a month out. What do you think it'll be? Well, I pulled up the weather for you guys. It's going to be in the 30s, but you know what? If it's in the 30s for Georgia, it's in the 30s for Ohio State. So we discussed that. We previewed or reviewed the week that was in college basketball around the SEC, and it's feast week. We got a lot of matchups. Tennessee, Virginia tonight, guys. Go watch that. I'll be locked in. We're really cranking out some basketball content here. Can't wait to bring you feast week next week. And then I gave you my money-making weekend guaranteed bets of week 13. I really like these 2. We've had 2 back-to-back really good weeks. I told you, we're going to get to 55%. We're at 47% right now off the top of my head. I think that's what it is. I got to get you 55%. We still have through the playoffs. I'm going to get you there. That was my promise before the weekend. I promise I'll do it as well, guys. But, guys, I appreciate you joining in. Again, go like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy all things from the SEC Unfiltered content, guys. There's no better channel for all things SEC football, basketball, and baseball. I'm your host, Dave Shoemate, longtime college football personnel guy. I hope you enjoyed watching the show as much as I did bringing it to you. But have a phenomenal weekend, guys. Can't wait to see you on Saturday after the Ole Miss Florida game with my boy Cole Thompson. Have a phenomenal Friday before I see you on Saturday.